Week 9 of the NFL season is officially underway, and I'm Untitled Chapter, host of Portland Packers podcast. Thank you for being here. Thank you for checking out this video. We have ourselves 2 more games to go until the bye week. We're sitting at 7-1, coming off that huge victory in Kansas City. So if this is your first time tuning in, and this is your first time clicking on this link, I'm about to break down some of the game previews, heading into our Chargers matchup on Sunday afternoon, give you some of my final thoughts and my 3 keys to victory. So without further ado, it is time to pour ourselves another Packers podcast. So as we get started, I'd like to do a quick recap of the previous week's game. If you haven't already, check out my live Q&A that is posted up on my channel page. I do go live every Tuesday night, but that is moving to Monday nights, and we do a live Q&A with anybody that subscribes to the channel, that wants to comment in, or even just view. You don't have to be a subscriber to tune in. But the Packers found themselves on the victory side once again, winning the game 31-24, and like earlier in the season, or kind of something that has plagued us throughout the season, the Packers again got themselves off to a really fast start, off to a big lead, going up 14-0, and then they only found themselves kind of later on in that game just kind of fighting and clawing. I don't really say that they at really any point the offense was struggling, because it seemed like we had control for most of the game, but when it was 24-24, it was a little bit too close for comfort, especially when we looked at Patrick Mahomes sitting out of the game. But a couple of those, exciting moments. I guess Aaron Jones again continues to exceed expectations. He's having an absolute monster of a season. 11 total touchdowns on the year. He definitely has become Aaron Rodgers' safety blanket, or his go-to target with Davante Adams going out. But speaking of Rodgers, he himself has looked more and more comfortable every week, especially in the last 2 to 3 weeks. He's really kind of come into his own into this Matt LaFleur offense, and he's really kind of figured out this new system and how to move the ball around, and that has to give us a lot of cause for hope when we look forward to the second half of the season, because we are officially in the second half of the 2019 season, and that's just as crazy to think about. It didn't seem like too long ago we were talking about OTAs and training camp and all that good stuff. So defense on the other side, looking at that Kansas City matchup, they haven't been as dominant as we saw early in the year, and that's one sticking point, I think, with all the talk that we have with Aaron Rodgers in this offense, or Aaron Jones in this offense, or any Aaron and this offense. It's kind of been masking what we've been seeing on the defensive side of the ball. I'm not entirely in love with what we've been able to do. Now, they have been able to make big plays when big plays are needed. Tyler Lancaster came up with that incredible, I guess it wasn't even that incredible. He came up with a strip fumble, and the Packers were able to kind of win the turnover differential 1-0 in that game. That made all the difference. It put the ball in good field position for the Packers. But this defense really needs to start to figure out. I will talk about this more later on in the video. At the end of the day, we're sitting at 7-1 midway through the season. Packers find themselves with 7 wins heading into the November for only the first time since 2011, and for only the 4th time in the entire Super Bowl area. Speaking of Super Bowls, the last time the Packers had 7 wins heading into November, 2 of the 3 seasons that they did that, they went on to win the Super Bowl. So knock on wood. Don't try to get our hopes up too high. But if history likes to repeat itself, we could be sitting pretty come February. Diving into that injury report, let's keep this extremely simple, because a simple injury report is a great injury report. So every player on the 53-man roster participated in Thursday's practice. And when I say everyone, yes, I mean everybody on that roster participated. So we're talking about Davante Adams, Blake Martinez, Darnell Savage. Everyone was back there. And speaking of Davante Adams, he's kind of that big headline player, right? Predicted to come back. Should be active on Sunday, make his return after missing the last 4 weeks. And in Friday's practice, he was actually seen hurdling a player, so it doesn't seem like that toe is bothering all that much. They did ask Matt if they will kind of take a slow and steady approach to integrating him back in the offense, or if he's ready to go. He's ready to go, and they'll just let him play throughout the entire game. Matt still was kind of hush-hush in how he wanted to handle that. I guess he's looking for more details on that injury and seeing how he feels. But with 2 games left to go before the bye week and halfway through the season, Matt LaFleur has done an absolute masterful job keeping his players fresh and weathering this storm the last 4 weeks while Adams was out with injury. And you have to, like I alluded to earlier, you have to put a lot of credit to Aaron Jones for stepping up, and even like the emergence of, you know, your Allen Lazards, Jake Kumros. They've all done a great job. This team has really grown without Adams in there at the number 1 wide receiver. So Matt did give practice off to the guys on on Monday and Tuesday, and a Packers healthy team, dare I say, could be an unbeatable Packers team. But hey, we're halfway through and there's a lot of season to go. Let's take a look at Sunday's matchup. So Sunday afternoon will mark only the 12th time in NFL history that these two teams have played. Green Bay does lead the overall series, 10 wins to 1 losses. And in fact, Green Bay has won the last 7 meetings against either the San Diego or Los Angeles Chargers, dating back to 1984, and that was the one and only time that the Packers lost. Their 91% winning percentage over the Chargers is the highest versus any team in Packers history, or in regards to the Packers franchise in general. And although this will be the first time that Green Bay will face off in their new home of Los Angeles, Green Bay has never lost to the Chargers on the road. And secondary market ticker Vivid Seats is saying or predicting that nearly 70% of the tickets or fans at attendance on Sunday's game will be wearing green and gold. So I think it's a number of different things that are factoring into this. You look at the Chargers sitting at 3-5. They've had just a really rocky, if not disastrous, transition from San Diego to Los Angeles. And the fact that the Packers fans travel really well, this could shape up to be a home away from home type of game for the Packers, without having to worry about road noise and really having the support of an entire Packers fan base for an extra game this season, which is typically not common when you are playing on the road. So the Chargers will be the 5th team the Packers have played this season that made the playoffs last year. They played Chicago, Philly, Dallas, and Kansas City. And of those games, Green Bay was able to win on the road each time. So they won in the road in Chicago, Dallas, and Kansas City. This is just awesome. I mean, there's a lot. I think we can get caught up in the moment of how well the Packers have been doing and really forget kind of these small intricacies of what they've been able to accomplish up to this point. With a win on Sunday, Matt LaFleur would tie Mike McCarthy and Ray Rhodes for the 3rd most NFL wins by a Packers rookie head coach. And after last Sunday's victory over the Chiefs, he was the first rookie head coach since Jim Harbaugh in 2011 to win 7 of his first 8 games. And he is only the 19th rookie head coach to win 7 of his first 8 games in NFL history. The Chargers, on the other hand, speaking of coaches, they had a change to their coaching staff this past week. On Monday night, they let offensive coordinator Ken Wisenhunt go from the team. He spent his last 3.5 seasons with the Los Angeles Chargers, or just the Chargers. He was brought back in 2016. And a lot of the reasoning behind this, from what I could dig up and from some of the articles that I read, was, you look at Los Angeles, they have a 19.6 point per game average that does rank 23rd in the league when you look at, a Phillip Rivers, and I'll talk about their players, but you look at the type of players that they have on their team. But more shockingly, their inability to rush the ball, in fact, is one of the worst in the league. They rank in like the bottom barrel, bottom 5, bottom 6 for rushing abilities. So they're the first team in the Super Bowl era since 1966 to have 4 straight games with rushing less than 40 yards. And that is absolutely shocking. You look at Melvin Gordon, you look at Austin Eckler at the running back position. It's just been absolutely mind-boggling that these guys have not been able to get anything going in their rushing game, especially when you do have the talent. And maybe Melvin Gordon could be proven to be overhyped or overrated, but up until this season, it seemed like he was one of the better backs in the league. 34-year-old coach Shane Steichen, he will get his first opportunity at the offensive coordinator position for the Los Angeles Chargers, and it will be his first opportunity in the NFL. He'll be faced with a huge task on Sunday, going up against a above-average Packers defense and trying to turn this struggling offense around. But when we really dive into this, what do we have out of this Chargers team that the Packers will face off against? Well, as I mentioned, Los Angeles enters Week 9 with a 3-5 record. They're still in 3rd place in the AFC West, but they're only 2 games behind the first place Kansas City Chiefs, who are trying to navigate life without Patrick Mahomes, possibly for another week. If not, he plays on Sunday. There's still a lot of mystery going on behind that. So, hey, I'm staying positive. There's still a chance for this Chargers team to, really turn the tides and make themselves a playoff push. But the 3 wins that they've had this season came against Indianapolis in Week 1, which is probably their most impressive victory that they've put together this year. But it also came 2 months ago. It was a season opener, and and that long gone has that game come and gone. Miami in week 4, probably the worst team that in the league. They ended up getting their second win of the season against the Dolphins, and then their third win came last week in week 8 against the Chicago Bears. And quite frankly, Chicago's kicker Eddie Pinheiro has as much to do with that victory for the Chargers than anything else. He missed that game-winning 41-yard field goal at the end of regulation, and the Chargers go on to win their third game of the season. So with the Packers playing on Sunday night last week, I did have a chance to watch a lot of that Chargers versus Bears game, and there's a number of things that stood out to me while trying to dive into this Chargers team and kind of seeing what we can expect. So first off, Joey Bosa. He's an absolute beast. He finished the game with 7 solo tackles. 4 of those tackles were for a loss. He did have 2 sacks to go along with it as well, and he was constantly flying all over the field and making life extremely difficult for Mitch Trubisky, which really isn't too hard to do when you're talking about that type of quarterback. But sticking with the defense, it was also bittersweet to see our previous and former Packer Casey Hayward making things happen on the defensive side of the ball. He is still one of the better corners in the NFL. He had an interception at the beginning of the fourth quarter, and he just made me think, what if the Packers, or Ted Thompson specifically, had held on to Casey Hayward? Maybe we don't end up with a Jair Alexander. Maybe we don't end up with a Kevin King. It's really tough to say how things really fold out, but he is definitely a game changer for the defensive side of the ball. Offense has weapons too, which makes their performances or their struggling rankings as far as moving the ball all that more head scratching. You look at off-season holdout Melvin Gordon. He returned to the team in week 5. However, he's only averaging 11 carries a game, and he's accumulated 112 yards total over the last 4 games. So he's part of that struggling run game that can't seem to get going. Phillip Rivers sits in the middle of the league with a 92.5 passer rating. He does have 7 interceptions, which is tied for 6th most in the league, but he is one of only 3 quarterbacks who has thrown for over 23 yards this season. So he's getting the ball down the field. I do think that Rivers is still one of the better quarterbacks in the league. He has only thrown for less than 4,000 yards 3 times throughout his entire career, and he does have targets all over that Los Angeles roster that the new offensive coordinator will have to find ways to get the ball to. You look at tight end Hunter Henry. He provides a beautiful 6'5", 250-pound target in the end zone for Rivers to find, kind of as a safety blanket if no one else can get open. You look at wide receiver Keenan Allen is a super reliable threat on the edges. He has put up 1,200-yard seasons the last 2 years, and it's pacing to finish once again with over 1,200 yards in this year. And then probably the biggest dark horse of this entire offense is running back Austin Eckler. Now, Eckler leads the Chargers. Running back Eckler leads the Chargers with 51 receptions and 5 receiving touchdowns, but he has 8 touchdowns total on the season, which is the 4th most in the NFL, and he has 758 total yards to go along with it. He is the talent or caliber of player very similar to what you get out of Aaron Jones. However, his numbers have taken a huge nosedive ever since Melvin Gordon returned. He's averaging only 4 carries a game in the last 4 weeks. He's averaging 6 catches a game. He does have 2 touchdowns in the last 4 weeks, but that means his previous 6 touchdowns came while Melvin Gordon was out, and they just haven't been able to figure out kind of how to fit him in a role. He did have a good game a couple of weeks ago against the Tennessee Titans. He had over 100, I think he had 118 yards receiving, but it'll be interesting to see if this offense will get a boost with the change at the play caller. However, when they asked LaFleur about this, what kind of a difference or how do they game plan around a new offensive coordinator, he points out that the personnel is exactly the same, and there just isn't a whole lot of changes that you can do from a scheme standpoint or from a play calling point in just 1 week or just even 5-6 days in the NFL. So regardless, the Packers will still need to pretend or be prepared as though they are playing an opponent with a much better record, and that leads us to our keys to victory. So these keys to victory, they tend to get a little bit redundant, repetitive, especially when we hit the midway point of the season. But I kind of pull and prod, and this is a tough game. I do think the Packers will have a rather easy go. But key to victory number 1 will be win the turnover battle, and this really ties into just an overall dominance that I need to see out of this defense in general. But the Packers have been excellent this season at winning the turnover battle, and their record definitely proves it, sitting at 7-1. In the 2 games this season where they have lost the turnover battle, you look at the Philadelphia game, they lost a very close game. Yeah, they had opportunities in the end zone late, but they gave the ball away twice and failed to take it away at all, and that was a difference maker as far as just possessions and getting points on the board. And then you look at the second game that they lost the turnover battle, they were able to kick a game-winning field goal against Detroit only a couple weeks ago. Again, they failed to take the ball away whatsoever in that game. and then they did cough it up twice throughout that game. So I don't want to see the Chargers get any more opportunities or any swings of momentum in what should be an easy victory for Green Bay. But furthermore, this defense has 2 games and a bye week to get themselves back to that, dominant shape that we saw very early on in the season. 49ers are less than a month away, and time for growing pains has to be behind us. I look at these next 2 matchups, the Chargers and the Panthers. They're quality opponents, but they're games that we should win, and this is something that the Packers should really start to put things together on both sides of the ball and get themselves ready for the inevitable, seeding game when you talk about first or second seed in the NFC against the 49ers. Key to victory number 2 has to go back to Davante Adams, and I called this find a place for Davante Adams in the offense. So when Davante was healthy and active in this offense, we either couldn't get him involved in the passing game. His first 3 games, he was targeted 21 times for only 198 yards, but then in the 4th game before he left with injury, he was targeted 15 times and had 180 yards. So that 4th game, there was a lot of talk heading into that game that they would feed the ball to him, and Rodgers definitely fed the ball to Davante. But it'll be really interesting to see because this offense has truly evolved over the last 4 weeks. They've definitely kind of come into their own, kind of what you predicted or were hoping would be a best-case scenario with a new offensive play caller like Matt LaFleur. But Aaron Jones has emerged as Rodgers' favorite target. He leads the league, like I stated before, with 11 total touchdowns. Lazard and Kumaro have, in my opinion, played much bigger roles than MVS and Allison. They have kind of jumped up, and it'll be interesting to see with Adams making a return back, how they keep these 2 guys in the game and, available for catching receptions because they have done just outstanding in the last 4 weeks. And then even with the games that Rodgers has strung together the past couple weeks, we still are only passing the ball 59% of the time versus running the ball 41% of the time, and that is down 10% from 2018. So there is more of an emphasis on running the ball. Now, Adams has yet to score a touchdown this season, and he will be an absolute game changer for this offense. If he plays, I do expect him to find himself in the end zone at least once, if not twice. But like every other player on this roster, his role will be different from what we've seen in the past. I don't necessarily think that you need to throw the ball to him 15 times a game to find yourself in a victory. But I think one of those real big, sticking points of where we could see him kind of emerge is red zone. Rodgers has been hurting to have that red zone target. Graham really hasn't stepped up in any, facet to be kind of that red zone threat that we thought he would be, and the Packers have done a good job kind of scheming their way around to getting Jamal Williams and Aaron Jones very active in the red zone. But I do think that Adams will play a pivotal factor in finishing out drives and getting touchdowns on the board. So it'll be interesting to see how they integrate him back into the offense, and that will be a key to how this offense performs. And then we talk about key to victory number 3, and that is to just show up. Guys, get on the plane, land in Los Angeles, go onto the field. In all seriousness, I don't think the Packers find themselves struggling at any point in this game. They have a warm weather game. There will be a lot of Packer fans in attendance. Both Aaron Jones and Aaron Rodgers have been extremely hot, with both of those guys winning Offensive Player of the Week 3 out of the 4 times in the month of October. Davante Adams comes back, like I said before, and the defense should have a field day against a very struggling LA offense. It's not really a key to victory, but I struggle to find key to victories. I don't think that there's a whole lot. I couldn't really focus on, hey, shut down the run, because they haven't been able to run the ball all that well. The Chargers have throughout the entire season. And then you look at the passing side of things, well, they have to play defense in general. They have to win the turnover battle. They have to take the ball away. Whatever way you want to look at it, I don't think the Packers struggle a whole lot on Sunday's matchup. So with my game prediction, segueing right into it, I think the Packers win 38-10. We have been waiting for this offense and this defense to finally put together a complete performance. I've been waiting for the whole first half of the season, and I believe the setting will be prime on Sunday afternoon for that to happen for the Packers. Blowout victory games are, the boldest predictions you can make, especially when you look at the NFL. A lot of people look at this game as possibly being like an upset game, or one that the Packers could look past because they have the talent on the Chargers roster, but they just haven't been able to do it. But I'll put my foot in the sand on this one. I think Green Bay not only moves to 8-1 on the season, but they do it in a dominant fashion, show the rest of the league they are not messing around, and set the tone for the second half of the season. And Packers win. Packers win big. Packers should set just a new standard for how this team looks and how this team plays moving forward. You have all 53 guys healthy. You have just so much going in your favor. Don't let the ball drop. I don't think they do. 38-10. I think if you didn't hear it before, Packers win 38-10. So thank you for watching. Thank you for checking out the video. Sorry this one's a little bit jumbled or messed up. At least it feels that way from my perspective. I am filming this on Friday afternoon, which is completely different from the norm. Last night was Halloween, so of course I went out and did some trick-or-treating, spent some time with the family, and then got myself a good night's sleep. But kickoff is at 3:25 Sunday Central Standard Time in the state of Wisconsin, and then I will be live on Monday night at 9 p.m. versus the usual Tuesday night at 9 p.m., and we will chat about the game and look forward to our final matchup against the Panthers before our bye week. And until then, or until next time, I will see you on the internet. Thanks for watching.